argument either.
We're on top
look at the NFC South if you want to see a weak division, for heaven's sake.
We're on top of each other there, John, but I'm with you. Some people make that argument to me, and I'm like, a weak division is when the whole division's tied at 2-4 or 2-5. That's a tied weak division. When the entire division is above 500.
I guess it's too early to start making comparisons between NFC and AFC, but I did notice that there's only 4 teams in the AFC that are sub 500, and there are 9 teams in the NFC that are sub 500. But just something to watch. As the season goes along, I don't know if you can say because of that the AFC is stronger than the NFC overall, but something to keep an eye on.
It's the opposite.
There's really, I guess the AFC teams that are bad are really bad.
That may be
accounts
it.
For some of that number.
No, that may be it. That's a good, that's interesting too. I wonder how the schedules against each other are broken down. I'd like to look into that. Speaking of, you know what? I'll get to it at the end of the subject, but I got something to talk to you about a question you asked last week about the Indians, but that's on a different topic. So, all right, we'll talk more about the Browns, you and I, Wednesday. We'll get ahead and we'll start looking ahead, Tampa and all of that. But a win's a win. I'll take it. Browns are 4-3 here. And as I said, it's been 2007. Last time the Browns started either 3-1 at home or 4-3 overall. Take your pick there. And if the end result of this season is the end result of that one, I'll take it, and we'll work on next year when we get to the off season. You know what I mean? I'll take it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll take 10-6 all day if they can get there.
The balance overall in the NFL gives you reason to be optimistic about those last 8 games. It's not, we're not playing the 85 Bears every week.
No, it's going to be a challenge each week. And that's the thing that I think a lot of fans don't do, especially I think older fans. They are so used to the day of the good teams are the good teams and the bad teams are the bad teams that they think it's just coach talk when you say 1 week at a time and you prepare for this team and that team. But really, in the NFL, that is legitimately it. I try to explain to people that the matchups from team to team are key. That like this week. I'm telling you now, if the Browns lose, then I guarantee you one of the places that Tampa exploited was having giant wide receivers against smaller defensive backs. I guarantee you that's one of the things they lean upon to defeat the Browns if they were. I mean, it's a matchup issue that's got me worried. So, but some people don't see that. They think you're just talking for the sake of talking. Like, no, I'd much rather it be clear. I'd much rather be able to get them all right every week by going, yep, good team, bad team, good team, bad team, good team, bad. But you can't. You try to pick them like that, you might as well flip a coin because you're going to get about the same percentage than if you just try to play the schedule game. Hey, let's switch to the people that don't get paid for playing football. I mean, for the most part. But anyway,
on the record,
you know what I'm saying there. As the sentence was coming out of my mouth, I go, well, wait a minute. Actually, I don't know that I can say that definitively, but the ones that aren't supposed to get paid for playing football, let's talk a little NCAA. There was all kinds of games this weekend. Buckeyes, whiteout, Penn State. We talked about it. I didn't expect Penn State to be able to keep up offensively with what Ohio State's done the last 4 weeks, and we've talked about that. I heard what you said earlier when we were setting it up about maybe playing down to the level. I wonder, too, though, if maybe – I'm not saying this is the level, but maybe this is more the level that the Ohio State offense is at than perhaps what we've seen against some of the teams they've played over the last few weeks, because this wasn't a – world-beating defense. But again, it's matchups, just like we talked about with the NFL. But they were able to stymie the Buckeyes offense and keep it a low-scoring game for the most part. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think, first of all, if you look at the Penn State defense statistically, they were one of the top defenses in the country coming in. Just like people were questioning the Ohio State offense as one of the top offenses because of the level of competition, so people were sort of poo-pooing a little bit the Penn State defensive numbers. Number one defensive against the run. I mean, they were giving up 60 yards a game or something. And, they had some great defensive numbers statistically, and they showed up. And certainly the Buckeyes haven't played a defense that good yet, and won't again till November 8th in East Lansing. But it certainly did give the Buckeyes a taste of a solid, disciplined defense that knew what you were going to try to do coming in, and really, for the most part, limited that very much. Now, there was a lot of criticism of Herman's play calling and Meyer's play calling as being, buttoned up both buttons at the neck, in that first half, and weren't even really trying to throw the ball down the field or even really trying to get the ball to the wide receivers. And to a certain degree at least, they were effective, moving the ball, picking up first downs, moving the chains, getting a couple of scores, and at 17-0, things looked rosy at halftime. And it wasn't Penn State's offense that, really got them back in the game. It was their defense. They had a pick six, and they had another turnover that led to their second touchdown. Really, the tying field goal was the only time they really moved the ball down the field with any consistency against the Buckeyes, and got some points to tie the game. But certainly the play calling was questionable, I think. Overall, the officiating was awful. It kind of evened out, but I watched the beat writers on Twitter, these guys that I know and have worked with, and I follow a bunch of guys that are up in the press box, and they give me the sense of what the media is thinking as the game is going on. And if there was one theme from the start to the finish, and it wasn't just because it favored Penn State, it didn't. Buckeyes got some gift calls. In fact, there was lots of talk today and yesterday about that interception early in the game by Von Bell that clearly was not. What in the world is wrong with the Big Ten officials that they cannot get a couple calls right? Not only the interception that was a key point in the game early, but the field goal that the Buckeyes kicked later, which was kicked about 3 or 4 seconds after the play clock ran out, and they didn't get penalized for it. It wasn't a borderline almost just click 00 and the snap came. It was fully 3 or 4 seconds late, and clearly should have been a delay of game, and at the worst moved them back 5 yards, and that didn't get called. And then they complained, and then they were told, well, that's unreviewable.
Yeah,
it's unreviewable. It sure as hell shouldn't be unreviewable because it's important. So anyway, people are just wondering what in the world is up with Big Ten officiating in general and with their replay system, where everybody sitting at home in their living room was able to see that Von Bell clearly did not intercept that ball. They had a nice try at it, but it was all over the ground. I mean, it was laying on the ground. And it was clear to everyone except for the Big Ten replay officials, and that's just a travesty. That just shouldn't happen.
And I agree with you. Those two are the big ones to point out there. Yeah, they said it wasn't reviewable, which is one of those that you got to think the first time it comes up, you wonder, how did that slip through the cracks when we put the rules together? Because nobody thought of it. And then I understand that. Then an instance comes up and you go, okay, we need to add that to the rules here because clearly that it's like the San Francisco fumble last year and then how they in the NFL and then they added that change to the reviews there. Same thing there because to me, I don't care what you say. If the clock expires before that should be reviewable. I should be able to throw my flag and go, look, I know you guys missed it, but that thing was 3 seconds over the game clock there, man, over the play clock, and that should be reviewable. That I could see changing the rules in the future. But that interception, that one's tricky because they said like on the field they upheld the call, but then they come out later and they say that, well, we didn't actually review it because we had technical difficulties with our replay stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that would not make me feel good now if I'm Penn State that you pretended to review it.
And if I'm the Big Ten officials, I guess maybe what I'm going to have next time is an ABC television monitor in my room
because they got it,
because a million people at home saw it, and all you would have needed to have is a television monitor in your referee replay booth. It's. Like you said, you said the key thing. The referees missed it, and this is not a judgment call like pass interference or other things like that where the official makes a decision based on what he saw. This is an objective, either the clock expired or it didn't, talking about the field goal. And, that's a referee's mistake, and replay exists to correct refereeing mistakes, and that clearly was one. And it's not in the category of was that holding or was that pass interference where there's judgment involved? There's no judgment in the clock.
Nope.
So anyway, that was ugly. The game itself was rather ugly. Certainly the way that the Penn State was able to stifle the Buckeye offense in the second half and keep them scoreless for the half, as they were scoreless themselves in the first. But in overtime, boy, a gimpy J.T. Barrett, as an Urban Meyer said, they used the expression "nutted up." He nutted it up.
He did.
And in the overtime, and fooled the TV cameras on the one read option, and ran it down to the 5-yard line, and then he was on a sprained knee for the whole second half. Meyer said that they did adjust their play calling because of that, in light of that, and but boy, when overtime came, he didn't look like he was favoring a sprained knee. He really delivered in the clutch when it came time to nut it up, as Meyer said, or win the game.
I agree with you, man. Took care of business at the end when it needed done. And you brought up that defense, by the way. I saw this stat, and I'm like, hey, it kind of speaks right to what you said as far as Penn State's defense coming into the game. Rushing between the tackles. I don't know if you saw that stat out in the post-game notes, but Penn State, up until this game, had only allowed 200 yards between the tackles rushing. It was the best in all of college football. The next best team was Alabama, and they were 130 yards more. Buckeyes gained 140 yards through the tackle. So even though, the numbers look and the game looks ugly like it does, they were more effective than anybody else had been previously running against them. Flip side of the ball, Penn State didn't have a chance in the world of getting anything going on the ground there against the Buckeyes. What did they give up? Like 16 total yards rushing as a team there for the game. Just an absolutely dominant performance there. And Joey Bosa, I mean, to sum him up, period, as a man-beast man, the end of the game. I mean, he said, you know what? I'm taking you and your blocker and your quarterback, and I'm ending this game all at once. I'm just shoving you all down. He plowed dude into the quarterback. He said, this game's over, man. I'm tired of playing football.
Yeah, that wasn't beastly, is the right word for it. And clearly Penn State blundered in leaving Joey Bosa on a running back, trying to pick up who might have been there to pick up a blitzer or something, but not to pick up the big
yeah,
bear.
And he looks like, whoa, Joey Bosa's coming.
Yeah, I'm in trouble. He knew he was in trouble. And full head of steam and a 210-pound running back there between you and the quarterback. That's not going to end well for you. Can't remember a game where there was a walk-off sack, but I think that's that was really kind of fitting. And you're right. Hackenberg has not looked like the same quarterback that he did last year under Bill O'Brien. I mentioned it Wednesday, but he just hasn't been the same guy under Franklin. And he doesn't have a lot of offensive weapons. He doesn't have a dangerous running back, and their offensive line is just not good. Somehow they figured out a way to score 17 points, and then again a touchdown in OT. But a lot of that was stuff that Hackenberg was flinging up as he was headed down to the ground, because the Buckeye defensive line beat him up quite a bit, especially Bosa. And boy, when you start looking at some of the talent on both sides of the ball, the Buckeyes have it so young, and you just got to look to next year and lick your chops, because they're going to be better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, my man. Absolutely.
One more year at least for Bosa. And Bosa's got a little brother. Did you know that? He's going to be a Buckeye too, and he's just as highly thought of as Joey is. He's a junior this year, and he'll probably be in the class of 16 for the Buckeyes. But I guess he's more of an inside player, a tackle, as opposed to a sort of more versatile end tackle. Like Joey is, but there's another Bosa on the way, so there's more beastliness to come.
Scary thought right there. You know what? You mentioned, when you talked about Hackenberg there, man, you mentioned a name that I think doesn't get the respect that he deserves. Bill O'Brien, man. Dude can handle quarterbacks, and dude is an offensive mind. And I think that clearly you see some of that, when he leaves a place. I'm not trying to, anytime you compliment somebody, people act like, you're putting them on the
You're
pedestal.
dissing James Franklin.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, man, or anybody in any situation. It doesn't matter what it is. You say, hey, I think that guy is good. If you know he's not, let me tell you. It's like, I just said I thought he was good. I didn't say he was. But anyways, dude is very good offensively. Bill O'Brien. Very good offensively, and regardless of what may be happening with Houston or what.